Hi everyone, my name is Monique, and today I'm going to be playing through a game that is currently on Kickstarter called Storyfold Wildwoods, designed by Short van der Linde and published by Open Owl Studios, who are helping sponsor this video. In this game, you play as a girl named Luma and her bear companion Brom, who are on a journey to heal the wild woods from the effects of a dark shadow. And the story is told over the course of a 6-chapter campaign in which the decisions you make will impact the future of the forest. This is a solo narrative adventure game that takes place in a fold-out storybook. And so today, I'm going to be playing through a couple of scenes in Chapter 1, but before I begin, I do need to mention that everything that you see here is considered a prototype copy of the game, which means things are subject to change in the future. In addition, even though this campaign is fully replayable, keep in mind that I will be showcasing some story elements from Chapter 1. For more information regarding the game, including the campaign, I've included a link to the Kickstarter in the description below. Last but not least, if you enjoy content like this and would like to see more in the future, please consider subscribing. And with that, we are ready to begin. So if you'd please direct your attention to the center of the table, we're all set up here for a solo game of Storyfold. Welcome to the Wildwoods. Now, like I was mentioning, Storyfold is a solo narrative adventure game where the entire game takes place in a fold-out story booklet. And so in this game, you play as a girl named Luma, who is trying to heal the forest known as the Wild Woods from a growing shadow. Fortunately, you're not alone because you have a bear friend named Brom who is going to be helping you try to heal the various forest creatures and bring light into this world. The way that the game works is the game actually opens in the prologue titled Call of the Wild, which basically teaches you how to play the game without having to read the rulebook. And by playing through the prologue, you're also introduced to the concept of the shadow that is deeply affecting this world as well as the creatures that inhabit it. As for today, we're going to skip directly to Chapter 1, and so we've successfully crossed this river, and we're now ready to venture into the dark. So then, Chapter 1 is called Howls in the Wind, and each chapter has their own set of instructions. In Chapter 1, we have both Luma and Brom here who are starting their adventure into the forest. They both decide to press on, and so now we are going to truly begin Chapter 1 with our first scene titled Addergate. Now, each chapter is comprised of several scenes, and so Addergate is just one of the few scenes that we'll need to win in order to complete the entire chapter. Here, it appears Luma and Brom have found themselves along a shady, slithering path, and overhead, endless rows of branching limbs formed a crude archway. We also hear the sounds of hissing from a nearby tree, and what also appears to be a prancing deer that is deeper within the forest. And maybe it needs help. And so, each scene details what you'll need to do in order to win the scene. And for Addergate, we can move on to the next scene as soon as we are able to light the scene and resolve the investigate location. However, we will lose the scene if the shadow marker reaches the center of the Wildwoods track. And now that we know our win and loss conditions, we are truly ready to start this chapter. Now, in order to avoid spoiling all of Chapter 1, today I'm only going to be playing a couple of scenes. So I won't be going through the whole thing, but hopefully you'll have an idea as to what to expect from the game. Now, the way that a scene works is you're going to be playing through a series of turns that are split into 2 phases. First, we have the Luma phase, where we are going to be taking all of our actions using our 5 action dice. And these are 8-sided dice that we'll be using in order to roll a series of checks that'll allow us to do things such as exploring the various locations that are in the scene, as well as healing the various creatures that we are currently facing, which for the start of Chapter 1 are 2 creatures called adders, which appear to be the source of the hissing. Now, there are 4 types of actions in the game, and they are represented by your 4 action cards that are positioned along what's called your river. And as you can see, over the course of the game, the various affected creatures will also be placed in your river. When taking an action, you're going to choose one of the 4 cards and attempt to gain successes by rolling dice. And so, as an example, 2 of your action cards allow you to resolve locations that are in the scene. The help action card is specifically for resolving help locations, which are the ones that are blue, and the explore action are for the purple locations. Now, in order to win this scene, we'll need to first light the scene, which we'll talk about later, and resolve the investigate location. Now, anytime two locations are connected by a line that has these tiny arrows, it means we must resolve these locations in this order from left to right, which means in order for us to resolve investigate, we will first need to resolve pass. And so let's just say, for example, I choose to explore this pass location, moving the explore card down instead to show that I'm using it. I would then choose a number of dice to roll, and since the explore card was in the 5 or greater slot, in order for me to gain a success, I would need to roll a 5 or greater on one die. However, the number of successes that you'll need in order to be successful in this explore action is equal to the number of filled in circles that are at that location, which in the case of this pass location is 2 successes. Now, considering the fact that these are 8-sided dice, I'll probably have to roll a lot of my dice in order for me to be truly successful with the explore card being here. So I'm not going to start by doing that. And by the way, the help action works the exact same way, except you're just using it for the help locations, which require fewer successes. As for the other 2 actions, another major thing that we're going to be doing in this game is healing the creatures that are in our river from the effects of the shadow. As you'll see later, after the Luma phase, we'll always have a shadow phase where the creatures in our river will attack us. And so I'd like to start by doing something a little bit more aggressive in trying to heal these creatures as early as possible. Now, over the course of the game, we'll also have the chance to draw explore cards, which will either give us good things in the form of boons, in which we can carry up to 3 of them, or bad things in the form of banes. And so we actually start this chapter with a boon called Hope, which says I can essentially play this during the Luma phase, and then I would be required to discard this card. But this boon says I can move 1 action card to the 3+ position in the river. I would actually like to start by using this boon right away, and by moving the heal action card to the 3+ position in the river, because I will be able to take the heal action with a higher success rate. Now, similar to the locations, the creature cards also have colored filled in circles at the bottom left-hand corner, and they tell you how many successes that you need in order to either heal or light the creature. Because the heal action is this reddish color, then you're going to go by the reddish pinkish circle at the bottom of the card, which in the case of the adder creatures is only 1 success, which is relatively inexpensive of an action. So I'm just going to go ahead and roll 2 of my dice, knowing I only need 1 success. And again, in order for me to be successful, I just have to roll a 3 or higher. So I just need 1. Fantastic, I rolled 2 successes. And so when you're successful in healing a creature, you're going to remove it from the river. And at the bottom right-hand corner of the card, you gain a reward in the form of crystals, which in the case of the adder is 1 crystal. And now the creature will go into the creature discard. They were both the same. They were both adders. It really didn't matter which one I went up against. And then I would gain the crystal from the supply. So these are actually not our inventory spaces. This is the supply. When gained, crystals are placed onto any of your action cards. And so if you were to gain several in 1 action, then you can distribute them however way you like. So I'm just going to go ahead and place this on Explore. Now, when taking this action, if I'm able to roll at least 1 success, then I can spend crystals from the card to increase by 1 success per crystal I spend. But you can only have at most 3 crystals on top of each card. And so I placed it here because I figured, eventually we're going to need to explore the investigate location, which requires 3 successes, which is a lot. And so once you're finished taking the action, then you clean up the river by moving the action card that you just played to the back of the river, which is going to be the rightmost empty space. And all other cards slide down, and any crystals that are on top of a card move with the card. Then any dice you rolled in taking that action are placed in the used dice space here. And now I only have 3 dice left to use before the end of the Luma phase. So you basically just keep taking actions using your action cards until you're out of dice. Now, instead of healing, another thing that you can do to creatures is lighting them. And successfully lighting a creature will essentially stun them and prevent them from attacking you during the next shadow phase. And so I'm going to attempt to light this adder. And similar to the heal action, the number of successes is listed at the bottom left-hand corner of the card, but this time it is colored in yellow. So I only need 1 success in order to stun this adder. And again, because it's at this position, it needs to be 3 or higher. So I'm just going to roll 2 dice. I'm going to be very conservative about this one. All right, I have one success. So then, if you are successful, you're going to place a stun token on top of that creature. It does not become healed, unlike the other adder, but during the shadow phase, it won't attack us, which will give us more time to try to win this chapter. So I'm going to go ahead and clean up the river. And now I have the help and explore actions at the lower dice value range here, which is going to be very good for us in order to try to win this scene. But I only have one action die left, so it's definitely not going to be enough. Now, the last thing about these action cards is whenever you take an action, you can actually choose between two actions. The main one, which is at the top, or the bottom one. And if ever you attempt the top action and you are not fully successful, then you can always attempt the bottom action with the results that you had rolled. In the case of the help action, the bottom action allows you to gain 1 crystal for every success you roll. The explore action lets you draw an explore card for each success, allowing you to choose one of them. And again, these explore cards are going to be a mix of boon cards as well as banes. The heal card allows us to recover spirit, which is our health tracker of sorts, as you'll see in a second. And the light action for every success allows us to advance the light marker 1 space. Now, one of the conditions that we need to meet in order to win the scene is to light the scene. And in order to do so, we need to be able to move this marker to the middle space here. And so in order to do that, we'll need to take the light action, but not to stun creatures, because again, it's one or the other. Now, considering the fact that I only have one action die left, I am going to take the help action. And I'm going to try to do the top action here, which allows me to resolve one of the help locations. Now, these locations are not necessary for you to resolve in order to win, but they can help you in various ways. In this scene, our help locations are the search location, which allows us to draw 3 explore cards, allowing us to choose one and discarding the others, as well as the fetch location, which allows us to retrieve all action dice from the used dice space, excluding the 1 die that I'm about to roll because I'm probably going to do that. And to be clear, there are now 4 used dice in that space. That would be great because it can help us elongate our Luma phase before having to go to the shadow phase. So again, 3 or higher, please. All right, I rolled an 8, so that is a success. Whenever you resolve a location, you're going to place one of these markers at the top here to show that you've already resolved it, because I cannot resolve it again. And now I get to retrieve all of these dice. I feel like I'm cheating. This feels too good. This is not going to happen all the time. You know, typically you have your 5 action dice and then you move on to the shadow phase and that's it. In this instance, we got a little bit of help. So let's go ahead and clean up the river. And now we're going to continue taking actions. And you know, even though we've already stunned this creature, I didn't realize I was going to come into so many dice. So I'm just going to attempt to heal it. What do you think about that? Let's just try. So this is not ideal because I need 5 or greater. So I don't know. I'm just going to roll 2 dice because I only need 1 success to remove this adder. Let's just see what happens. All right, so I rolled 2 2s, which means that was not a successful roll. So let's go ahead and clean up the river. I'm a little bit sad about that, but I made a poor decision, it seems. So you know what? Time is of the essence. So with these last 2 action dice, I'm going to choose to explore. And let's go ahead and explore this pass location. I'm going to have to lose 2 spirit because I was not able to remove this adder from the river beforehand. But also, I don't even know if I'm going to be successful because I need 2 successes. Fortunately, though, I do have that crystal. So let's see, 3 or greater. All right, I have 1 success. Just this single 8. I'm going to spend the crystal because otherwise I would feel like I wasted that fetch action. So again, spending the crystal increases my success amount, I guess. So now that was 2 successes total, and I can resolve the pass location, which just says lose 2 spirit for every adder in your river. So I have 1 adder still, making me lose 2 spirit. Now, the spirit track is our health of sorts, because if ever we get to the very end of the track and we need to continue losing more, it actually resets to the start of the track, but we must draw a shadow card. And at the start of this chapter, we actually started by having to draw the top shadow card, which made us lose 2 spirit right from the get-go. If ever we have to resolve the 3rd shadow card, that is actually another way in which we can lose. So we are going to really try to not have to do that. Fortunately, we have our good friend Brahm here, who actually has abilities that'll hopefully help us on our journey. So there are actually two sides to their card. The protect side says during the Luma phase, if Brahm is not on the shadow discard pile, which he's not, then you may spend one crystal from any action card to light a creature, which again is stunning them. Then flip this card, and now it's the care side, which says that during the Luma phase, I can spend 2 crystals from any action card to recover 3 spirit. Then I would flip this card. So Brahm alternates between protecting and caring because Brahm is a very caring bear. In addition, once per chapter, instead of drawing the final shadow card, I can basically discard Brahm's protect card in order to prevent us from losing. So you do have that sort of get out of jail free card once per chapter. All right, and that is it. So don't forget to clean up the river. This always has to move down. But that essentially ends the Luma phase. And again, this is because we've run out of action dice to use. And so once the Luma phase is over, then we move on to the Shadow phase, where the creatures that are still in the river will try to attack you, and then we'll have to advance the shadow marker. So then, during the shadow phase, you're going to activate all creatures that are in your river from left to right. And so we actually only have one creature left. It is this adder here. And anytime you activate a creature, they're going to attack you by decreasing your spirit by the amount at the top right-hand corner, which in the case of the adder is 2. Although, since we were able to stun the adder, then they don't actually attack us, but we do discard the stun token. And each creature will have an after activation effect, which in the case of the adder is moving it to the end of the river. So now we have our 4 action cards back, which is nice. Then, once you've activated all creatures, you advance the shadow marker. And similar to the light marker, the shadow marker will be moving towards the center. And if ever it reaches the center of the Wildwoods track, then you lose the scene. That is the one condition for losing the scene here. Now, if you'll notice, each space has a different symbol above it, and that is a specific shadow effect that is specific to the scene that you're playing. In the case of Addergate, anytime it moves to this eye symbol here, this requires us to draw a creature card, and we have a creature deck here. And it looks like we've encountered a Cater, which is looks like a cat-like creature. Each creature has an on-play position, which in the case of this creature is going to be in the 4 and up position here, which is not ideal because it makes some of these other actions more expensive, and in the case of Explore, just unavailable. But fortunately, that is it for the Shadow phase, so not too bad, honestly. And so now we go back to the Luma phase, so I'm going to go ahead and retrieve my 5 action dice, and the most inexpensive of the actions that I have here is the light action, which again I can use to either stun this new creature here, or to advance the light marker, which I'm going to want to do, because in order to win, I need to light the scene and resolve investigate. Now, to fully light the scene, this is going to be a total of 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces, which means I probably need 4 successes. I only have 5 dice. I'm going to roll all of them. This is going to be a very, very short Luma phase here. So let's do it. We're going to choose to take the light action, and I need all 3 or higher. Okay. So it looks like I have 2 successes. I rolled a 5 and an 8 over here, which means I'm going to advance the light marker by 2 spaces. So not ideal because that ends the Luma phase. Such a quick turn. And now we go directly into the Shadow phase, where now we do have a creature that's going to attack us. But fortunately, for some reason, this creature is not as powerful as the adder. So this is only going to hurt us by 1. So we lose 1 spirit, and it says here after activation, it goes to the end of the river. Then draw 1 explore card. If it's a boon, discard it, okay? So we don't get to keep it. If it's a bane, then we have to follow its on-play instructions. So this is gonna go to the end of the river, and we are going to see what we find in the explore deck, because this deck has been shuffled. Please be a boon. It's a boon. So this is a boon called Distract that says you can swap the position of any 2 cards in the river. I can't keep it, unfortunately. That would be too kind. And right now the cater has been engulfed by the shadow. So they're not in the mood to be kind. All right, let's advance the shadow marker. And now we have a new symbol here that says draw one explore card. Oh, this sounds familiar. If it's a boon, discard it. If it's a bane, follow its on play effect. This is another boon called Path. And it says take one boon from your explore discard pile or advance the light marker 2 spaces. That is all we needed. Too bad I have to discard this. Okay, and now I'm just realizing that I only have 2 more turns before we lose. So I really can't waste time. So now we're back in the Luma phase and I need some help. You know, we've been seeing a lot of these really nice boons. Maybe considering the fact that the help card is in this location, maybe we should just try to do the search. We're exploring every location here. So I'm gonna roll 2 dice and we have 2 successes, which is definitely enough to be able to resolve the search location. And again, it says draw 3 explore cards and I can choose 1 to keep. So it looks like, aha, there's 1 bane here, which we're definitely not keeping. And this one says on play, just so you have an idea as to what these are like. It says on play, if you have not lighted the scene, retreat your light marker 2 spaces to the left on the Wildwoods track. Otherwise, lose 2 spirit. So I'm definitely discarding this. And now our options are either Stink, which lets you move 1 creature to the end of the river, or Happy, which says ignore the on-play effect of a Bane card. Instead, discard that card immediately. Well, oh no, wait, you know what I just realized? During the shadow phase, I did not activate this creature. I still have an adder here. Oh no. So I actually go down by 2 more spirit. And then this should have moved to the end of the river. Oh, that is so funny. Okay, well, anyway, I took this action. So with that knowledge, I am going to keep the Stink boon because I have 2 creatures here still. So that might be helpful later. All right, so now the help action moves down. And what to do? You know, considering the fact that the adder hits us for more, I'm going to choose to heal, but I'm going to try to heal the adder because it causes us to lose 2 spirit versus the cat, that's just 1. So I'm going to roll 2 dice here. Oops, I need to remember to move these dice out. So 3 or higher. And it looks like we have both successes. So then this creature is now healed and we gain 1 crystal, which I'm definitely going to put on light because we desperately need to light this place. So I'm going to go ahead and discard that and let's go ahead and clean up the river. I only have 1 die left. I don't think I used my dice properly. Maybe the start was too aggressive. I could choose to try to light this creature. And now I'm realizing that I think on my first turn, when I put the stun token on the adder, I did not do the activation. You're supposed to resolve the after activation effect, which would have had me move it to the end of the river, which means I probably made one of my actions a little bit more difficult. But just so you know, when you stun a creature, it gets activated. But anywho, I'm going to try to be a little bit more aggressive about it, and I'm going to do the bottom part of the light action. Knowing that I have a crystal here, I'm sort of taking some risks, but I would like to try to light. I need 2 more advancements in order to light the scene. So please, I need a 4 or greater. 4, okay. Wow, that was very, very close. So that is 1 success, but because I have at least 1, I could discard the crystal to turn it into 2 successes. And again, for every success, advance the light marker 1 space. So now we have lighted the scene. All we need to do is resolve the investigate location. But unfortunately for us, we are back to another shadow phase. So I'm not going to, we only have 1 creature. But again, if there are multiple creatures, you resolve all of them. So the cater here is going to hit us for 1 spirit. And now after activation, they go to the end of the river. And again, I have to draw an explore card. And if it's a bane, it's a boon. So this is Thorns. Ignore the after activation effect of a creature. Okay, so that gets discarded. We're getting really lucky with that. But that is that. So let's go ahead and advance the shadow marker. And now we have another eye symbol, which means we're adding another creature. We're adding another creature to the river. This is a cry bird. And when you play it, it goes to the end of the river. So There you go. It is now essential that we resolve the investigate location this turn, or else we will lose. I did not imagine that we would take this scene to the very end here, but for some reason, here we are. But fortunately, it couldn't be more perfect because the explore action is in the 3 or more spot. And so I am just going to roll all 5 of these dice because I need 3 successes in order for this to be successful. So this is all or nothing. All right, we did it. We have 5 successes, which is definitely more than enough to resolve this location. So this says gain 2 crystals, then draw story card 1. So where am I going to put this? I think I'll place them on light and heal because we have 2 creatures here, and I don't know what the next scene is going to look like. So now we're going to go ahead and draw story card 1. And it says, Guardian, Luma reached for the deer, only for it to vanish into a funnel of leaves and shadow. So it looks like we have finally met the deer, and there is some on-play instructions here that say search the creature discard pile for Nightmare. So this is the creature discard pile. And shuffle it with the top 2 creature cards. Okay, so let's go ahead and find that. Uh-oh. Here we have our creature, and it says to shuffle it with the top 2 creature cards. Then place these 3 cards face down on top of the creature deck. So basically, this card is going to show up somewhere within the top 3 creatures, and it looks like it is a significant card to the story, but it also looks like it's going to be pretty tough. All right. That's nice and shuffled, and that is it for the story card. So I'm going to go ahead and clean up the river here, and it looks like we have completed everything that we needed to in order to win the scene, because we've lit the scene, or we've lighted the scene, and we've resolved the investigate location. So now it says travel to scene 4. So now we're going to move on to the next scene in the chapter called Willow Creek, which is right here. Oh, and it looks like the Wildwoods track is longer. So for Willow Creek, these setup instructions say reset the Wildwood track. So always resetting them to the opposite ends of the track. And now search the creature discard, for a Wildvark and a Flatterat. So Wildvark, Flatterat, oh boy. And bring them into play in that order. I have too many cards because you can only have 7 cards in your river. And actually, when I was filming, I completely forgot that when you switch scenes, there are actually a series of travel steps that you have to resolve, which include removing all of your creatures from the river, which means the 2 new creatures would have been able to fit into my river going into this next scene. But just keep in mind that that was an error on my part, and at least you'll be able to learn what happens if you have to draw extra creatures that don't fit in your river. So it has to be in the order mentioned, which means the Wildvark is going to enter the river, and it actually enters on space 6. So all these get shifted. And then it says here, if there are 7 cards in the river and you're forced to draw a creature card, discard that card and lose spirit equal to the creature's attack value instead. So we're going to lose 2 spirit. Okay, that's fine. It's fine. This gets discarded. As for Willow Creek, a sudden cacophony of shrieks and squeals filled the air around Luma and Brahm. Critters of all sizes scattered frantically over the forest bed, pursued by tendrils of shadow and menacing creatures. So it looks like we are going to be encountering more creatures, and some potentially coming from the sky now. And this scene has a total of 5 locations. Now, in order to win the scene, we have to fully light the scene and resolve the rescue location. But again, we'll lose the scene if the shadow marker reaches the center. But in order to resolve the rescue location, we have to first resolve these 2. So it is a bit of a longer path in order to win this one, which is unfortunate because our explore action is really far. So I think what would be good is to start by taking the help action, because we do have a help location here called Distract that says rearrange any cards in the river, excluding the help card, because we're going to be using it. So let's try to do that, because it's at a cheap spot and I only need 1 success. I'm going to roll 2 dice. So let's just hope for the best. Okay, we have 2 successes. So we were successful in resolving the Distract location. I am now going to rearrange any card. So this is definitely going to the end of the river. I'm going to put Explore up here. And then, I thought I was going to do the explore action next, but I think this is scary because during the shadow phase, we're going to lose 5 spirit, which is a lot. So I think I'm going to do the heal action instead and try to heal this Wildvark because I need to roll 2 successes, and at least it's out of 4 with 1 crystal. So I'm just going to roll the rest of my dice. So let's see if we can heal this Wildvark. Okay, I have 2 successes, which is what we needed, which means I don't have to spend the crystal. And the Wildvark is going to gain us 2 crystals actually for healing it. They're so happy that the shadow, to be clear, we're not destroying the animal. We're doing quite the opposite. We're healing them. We're removing the shadow's effect. So there goes the happy Wildvark, hopefully. And now I have 2 crystals that I can place. Let's go ahead and clean up the river first. What are we going to need a lot of is the question. Maybe another one on heal, although the light, in order to light the scene, it's a lot longer. I'll put the other one on explore, because we're going to need to do a lot of exploring. All right, that is the end of the Luma phase. It is time to move on to our first shadow phase of this scene specifically. So, starting from the left to the right, we're going to resolve the creatures. We're going to activate them. So the cater here hits us for 1. And after activation, they go to the end of the river. And then we're going to draw 1 explore card and do that whole thing. Okay, it's a boon, so we're fine. And then the cry will hit us for another. After activation, move 1 space towards the start of the river. Are you kidding me? That's unfortunate. But you know what? It's okay because we have our stink boon here that lets us move 1 creature to the end of the river, which we can use whenever we need to do that. And I also have to remember that we can always use Brahm's protect ability. Okay, so let's go to advance the shadow marker. And in the case of this scene, this symbol says, if there is no Flatterat in the river, which there isn't, search the creature discard pile for a Flatterat and bring it into play. Okay, so this is going to be happening 4 times. Maybe I leave the Flatterat in play so that we don't have to keep on suffering that effect. So the Flatterat here, I guess that's not too bad because we can bring it into play, leave it in the river, and just stun it every turn, So on play, this goes to the end of the river. Okay, that's it. So it's back to the Illuma phase. And I'm going to start by spending the Stink Boon. That says I can move 1 creature to the end of the river. So I'm going to move this Cry to the end of the river, and that gets discarded, just so I can make the light action a little bit easier to do. And now I'm going to take the light action, and do I want to? Yeah, I guess I did that so I could take this action. I am going to spend, I'm going to spend 3 of my action dice in order to try to advance the light marker. So these each, oh, this is bad. Oh no, the Flatterat says as long as this card is in your river, even when stunned, you cannot spend any crystals. Oh, I was counting on these. Okay, I am going to just try to light the Flatterat, just so maybe I can try to stun them. I'm going to use two dice, and here we go. All right, I have 1 success, which is all we needed in order to stun the Flatterat. So again, when you stun them, you actually activate them, but specifically for this creature, it says after activation, do not move. So they're actually just going to stay in place, but this will move down. So we are going to clean up the river. And I think for my last action, because I can't use any of these crystals, I am just going to explore. Until I'm able to heal and remove the Flatterat, I can't use these crystals. So I'm going to try to explore this location here. I'm going to roll all 3 of my remaining action dice, and I need 2 successes. All right, I was successful. So we are going to resolve Wade. Place all of your available action dice into the used dice space. So I knew this was a location that I wanted to resolve last, because now I don't have any available action dice, so I did not suffer those consequences. But now it says gain 2 crystals. 2 crystals that we cannot use. Well, hopefully we'll be able to use these crystals in the next turn. because the heal action is a little bit cheaper. And I'm just going to go ahead and place one crystal on light and one on help in case I need to do dispel. All right, that's the end of the Luma phase. Now let's move into the shadow phase. This is going to be kind of painful. So starting with the cater here, that's one spirit. So this goes to the beginning of the track, and now we must draw a shadow card. Uh-oh, this shadow card 2. Doubt. Surely it was a mistake to come this way. What can someone like you possibly do against such darkness? Okay, on play, move all creatures one position towards the start of the river. Then either lose 2 crystals or 2 spirit. Let's, I don't know. Let's lose 2 spirit, I guess. I love my crystals. Actually, I'm just going to spend the crystals. Let's just discard these 2. I have plenty. All right, so that was a shadow card because we activated this creature. So now they move to the end of the river, and I'm going to draw an explore card, and it is another boon. So we're getting really lucky there. All right, next we have this creature that is stunned. So we discard their stun token, but they don't move. And now we have the cry, which is going to hit us for 1. And after activation, move 1 space towards the start of the river. So this is going to, oh, actually, hold on. This said move all creatures 1 position towards the start of the river. Hold on. So this cat would have gone to the end anyway, but these 2 would move 1 space, right? I believe it's like this, which just kicked out heal. How unfortunate. And then now that this activated, this moves 1 space towards the start of the river. Okay, that should be right now. Oh boy. Let's go to advance the shadow marker. And first, if there is no Flatterat in the river, there is one. I made sure to leave it there. And now we resolve the eye symbol that says draw a creature card. So this is bad. I'm not managing my creatures well. I cannot add this. Oh no, the Nightmare. Wow, I can't place it. I can't place it on the river, which is actually kind of good, I guess. Because if I were to activate this, it says discard this card and clean up the river. Then draw 1 creature. Do not activate its shadow phase. It doesn't say here that you have to do its activation effect. You're forced to draw a creature card, discard that card, and lose spirit equal to the creature's attack value instead. Okay, so unfortunately it is a lot. It's 4 spirit. 2, 3, 4. So we do have to lose that, but I guess it could have been worse. But that is it. We are back to the Luma phase, and I'm just going to try to do the help action for 1. And I'm just going to hope I get lucky. I only need 3. 3 or greater. 7. Nice. Okay, so I didn't even need to use this, which is... Oh, no, I do. I have to use this crystal. Oh, I can't. Hold on. I need to take that back. That was not legal. The reason why was because I was hoping... Well, I guess I can just continue doing it. I already did it, so I'm going to leave it. It's a 7. The reason why was because I was hoping to use this crystal to be able to resolve that, but I can't because I still have this creature in play. You can't spend any crystals. So I'm just going to roll another die to try to make it successful. Okay, perfect. So you have a 7 and an 8. That was a success. And now Dispel has been resolved. So that's going to stay on the card. And it says advance the light marker 1 space, which is great. Then draw 3 explore cards, choose 1, and discard the others. So hopefully these are not 3 Banes, you know? Oh, close. 2 Banes. Let's just discard these now. So we get to keep Joy. Light 1 creature. Play during the Luma phase. Okay. So we can stun one of these creatures, which is nice. Now I think I'm going to just try to heal and get this creature out. Because if so, I'll gain 2 crystals and maybe I can use it to light. That would be nice, and it'll be at a 4. It's not ideal, but at least I only need 1 success. Just one of these has to be a 5 or greater. So let's see. 6. That's a 6. Nice. Okay. So we just needed 1 success in order to heal this creature, which we did. So we gained 2 crystals, and now we can spend them, which is great because I'm just going to place them both on light. And this is going to go to the end of the river. And now with this last die, please be a success because I need at least 1 success in order to spend these. And I would love to light the scene. So let's try and roll a 4 or greater. Here we go. 7, nice. Okay, so that was a success. I'm going to spend, so 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to spend all 3 of these crystals to fully light the scene. So that's done. I can just focus on these locations now. All right. And unfortunately, the Luma phase is also done, which means it's time for another shadow phase. Things are getting scary, but fortunately these creatures are not very strong. So the cry is 1 spirit, and then after activation, move 1 space towards the start of the river. They're already there. And for the cat, it's 1 spirit, and then they go to the end of the river. And the whole drawing of an explore card to see our fate. Aha, it's a Bane. Okay, our first Bane, scratched. On play, at the start of your next Luma phase, you retrieve 4 action dice instead of 5. That could have been way worse. So that's fine. I'm not complaining. Oh, wait, hold on. We have to do this first. So this is the fish symbol. If there is no flatterat in the river, search the creature, discard pile, and bring these birds back into play. Birds or maybe bats? I think they might be bats. All right, they go to the end of the river, and I cannot spend crystals again. But at least that is the end of the shadow phase. So let's go back into the Luma phase now with only 4 action dice. And let's go ahead and explore because we now have to resolve the hide location. So I just need 1 success, 4 or higher, and then I'll be able to move a creature to the end of the river. So please, 4 or higher. We have 1 success, the 8. Okay, so this gets resolved, the hide location. Now I'm going to move 1 creature to the end of the river, which is this. Then draw story card 2. So the card says, Squeaks and Shadows. Amidst the commotion, Luma dashed behind the large trunk of a nearby tree. Timidly, she peered out to find a tiny squirrel stranded near the water, squeaking for help. On play, you may lose 1 to 3 spirit to retrieve an equal number of action dice from the used dice space. Oh no. Do I do it? You know, I'm not going to do it. I don't think I'm going to do it. I'm just going to leave it at that. We're very close to the end here. So I'm just going to leave it. I have 2 dice left, and I'm going to end up just using them to try to heal a creature. So honestly, let's just try to heal this because this keeps moving 1 space towards the start of the river, and I need the explorer to come back if I want to be able to resolve that location. So this creature needs 1 success. I'm just going to roll both of these dice. I can't spend that crystal. All right, I have 1 success. I have a 7, and I needed a 4. So this is done, the cry. I gain 1 crystal, which I'm going to place on Explorer, because that's the last thing that we need to do. And this is going to go to the end. We're going to clean up the river. But before I end the Luma phase, I am going to spend this boon, Joy, to light a creature. I'm going to light the flatterat so that it doesn't hit us for 2. And this is the last time, this next shadow phase is the last time that this is going to come into play. So I can get rid of it for good, which is nice. All right, hopefully the last shadow phase before the end of the scene. So let's go ahead and activate the cat. So 1 spirit, they go to the end of the river, and let's draw an explore card. Please. It's a Bane. Yep, that's Sting. So lose 2 spirit. Oh my gosh, we're so close. We're so close to needing Brahm to protect us. Okay, then the flatterat, which is stunned, so they're not going to attack us. After activation, do not move. So they are going to stay there. All right, now we're going to progress the shadow marker, and we skip the flatterat part, but we do draw another creature card. And now we have Voss. So on play, they move to the end of the river. They have an attack of 2. So I'm glad that we got rid of that other creature because they would have hit us twice there if not. So now the question is, do we think we can gain 2 successes with the explore card being here? I have to roll two 6s or greater on 8-sided dice. Ooh, it's kind of a risk. Let's just try it. Let's just go for it. We're going to go for it. So 2 successes is all we need. 2 of these, what is the percentage here? All right, let's try it. If we can resolve this, then we will win the scene. Please, 2 successes. Wow, that was great. This is what, 4? No, 3 successes. All right, well, we only needed 2, so that's fantastic. We are going to resolve rescue. So let's resolve rescue first. If there is a flatterat in the river, discard it. Do not gain any crystals. That's fine. At least they're out. And then draw story card 3. Okay. A furry friend. With desperation in her eyes, Luma leaped into the water. She reached the helpless squirrel and scooped it into her arms just as a flatterat swooped by. You're safe now, she whispered gently. Oh, that's nice. They were able to save the cat. So on play, take the 10-sided gray action die and add it to your available action dice. Oh, that's nice. Now we have a 10-sided die. So something that's a little bit stronger. Yeah, it's great. Thank you, furry friend. And that is it. So let's go ahead and clean up the river. And at this point, we would now move on to scene 5, which is Antler Hill, because we have both fully lighted the scene and we resolved rescue. At this point, we would go ahead and clean up just like we did with the last scene, and we would progress to Antler Hill, which is, I believe, the final scene in this chapter. At this point, we would follow the setup instructions and continue playing the way that we played out the other 2 scenes. But now, clearly, the locations are a lot less simple, and so as you can see, the chapter will increase in complexity as you play through the campaign. As for now, this seems like a good stopping point. You know, it doesn't seem like we're doing too well, because technically, if we lose 3 more spirit, we'll have to draw this final shadow card. Fortunately, we still have Brahm here, who we can discard again once per chapter in order to not draw that last shadow card, so we do have a little bit more wiggle room. And of course, we now have this 10-sided die, so we are a bit stronger even though the chapter did become a bit more complex. Now again, keep in mind that the copy that I have here is a prototype copy of the game, and so the final version will have 80 pages in total, and this is an entire storybook that you'll be playing through. And the entire game is self-contained. In fact, these leaflets here are actually a part of the storybook that folds out. And once you finish with the campaign, again, the entire campaign is replayable because the decisions that you make during the chapters will affect how the rest of the story plays out. And there you have it. Those were a couple of scenes from Chapter 1. Now again, the final version of the game will come with 6 total chapters that are part of a replayable campaign. And so for more information regarding the game, I've included a link to their Kickstarter in the description below. If you have any questions about anything that you saw here today, please feel free to leave me a comment down below and I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. Otherwise, thank you all so much for watching the video. I really hope it was helpful. If you enjoy content like this and would like to see more in the future, please consider subscribing. Thank you. Bye.